Welcome to this recorded webinar session on Synoptic projects and interview lessons learned. We will give you an update on what City and Guilds is doing at this time to support our customers and what materials we have that can help with apprenticeship delivery for online use and evidence gathering. There's also some information on how to stay safe at this time when working. The information that we're going to go through has already been presented at 2 network sessions in February and is based on the lead independent assessor reports from each of the digital standards we offer. Their reports and discussions we have had with them, we hope will help you ensure good outcomes for your apprentices, though at the end of the day, it is down to them. So let's start with some good practice around the Synoptic project. Get your apprentices to read the whole project. Make sure that they understand the scenario they're being presented with, that they go through all the tasks that they need to be carried out, and they understand the evidence requirements. Make sure they know what needs to be saved. If you're using Packet Tracer, and using the virtual assessment service, please can you make sure that you also include the PKT file that they create along with the evidence and written documentation. Make sure they know how the tasks relate. Some of the tasks further down in the list may depend on things that they do at the beginning. The tasks in the individual projects may vary slightly, but we don't have any that have more than 5 tasks, and we only have one that has 3. But in the main, they follow a very similar style. The first one is usually about planning the work they're going to do and the resources that they need, or it may be a piece of research or a combination of the two. They will then be asked to design and carry out the actions that they've proposed. The third task is usually around evaluation and testing, and the fourth is usually a report making recommendations. They may be required to produce specific types of evidence, such as a presentation, depending on the scenario contained within the Synoptic project. Please make them understand they need to read this thoroughly. In terms of hints and tips, make sure that they fully understand the tasks and required output. Approach the project in the same way they would if they were actually doing something for real in the workplace. Keep a record of how they're going through. Make sure that they're keeping to time and what they're carrying out, and they're collecting the evidence along the way as appropriate. It is better they take their time over certain tasks and complete them in full rather than doing bits of each task in order to try and show that they know what they're doing. If they have to leave a task half finished, then don't worry about it, but make sure they give good evidence. If the project goes wrong or doesn't go the way they think it should, that is not a reason to start panicking. Things in the real world do go wrong. They should document where they think they've made a mistake or where the project has started to go wrong and what they would do differently in order to correct that if they were given the time to do it again. Normally you would have an observer in the room who would document how they are progressing and what they're doing along the way. Clearly at this time with COVID-19, we're not going to have somebody in the same room as them. And in fact, NSAR have allowed us the dispensation to allow you to let your apprentices either complete projects at home or undertake projects at home if they haven't begun. Please check out our COVID-19 webpage and the endpoint assessment area and frequently asked questions to find out more about the dispensation that we're allowed to give you. It should be noted they shouldn't really be taking much longer than the time that would normally be given. So you need to do 2 things. 1, you need to tell us which apprentices and for what standard you are going to use this procedure. If you need a form to complete in order to make that easier, please contact the EPA team. 2, you need to get the apprentices to keep a timeline of what they do per task. We're not looking for war and peace, just something along the lines of task 1, I did this piece of research or this piece of planning and it took me this long. We're suggesting that that timing document be a shared document, and we also suggest that you might want to get your apprentices to set up a schedule of when they're going to be working. This could then allow you to drop in on them using Skype or Teams or something else in order just to see how they're getting on. You can't help them, but what we're looking for is to try and keep them on track and not do more hours than stated in our handbooks or the assessment plan. We have been asked if the projects can be done over the weekend, and the answer to that is no. If they're not working, they should be in lockdown, and therefore they shouldn't be going anywhere and ought to be able to do the work during the week. If they are still working, and we do have people out there working for digital agencies where they might be, then they should be doing it during work time as stated in the assessment plan and the handbooks. However, we're not going to insist on consecutive days at this moment in time, because we do understand that these industries are trying to maximize the workload of all the staff they can get hold of. And that's why we suggest that you get them to schedule what they're going to do. And if they're going to do a day a week or half a day a week, then you have that to hand so that you can have it more manageable for you. We would further suggest that if you do drop in on them using Skype and Teams, that you just add your own comments to their timeline document just to show how they are getting on, as if you were there in person doing that observation. At our events last year, we heard a number of centres praise our independent assessors for putting your apprentices at ease and making the interview more of a discussion than an interrogation. And while we cannot guarantee what questions may come up, we do know that they will be asked what they do or to talk about their job. The rest of the questions are based around what has been seen in the summative portfolio, the evidence from the Synoptic project, and the commentary from the employer reference. They may get knowledge questions where they have not explained decisions they have made to see if they really understand what they have done or they've just copied it from somewhere. We're looking for more than yes, I did this, or you can see I've done something. Give examples. We're looking for competency-based answers. And if they've done something brilliant since passing through Gateway, get them to take notes about that into the interview. While you're not in a position to have added that to the summative portfolio because it's already been submitted, it will give them an opportunity to show clearly how they've progressed and what else they have learned from their apprenticeship program. And remember, they can take the summative portfolio, the evidence from the Synoptic project and the employer reference into the interview so that they can refer to it. They can understand where the questions are coming from. Right now, clearly they can't do the interview either with you in your centre or at the employer's premises. So you do need to make sure that for when the interview is scheduled, that they have got good internet connection, they've got a camera, they've got microphones or headsets. They need to choose a suitable location. Being on the dining room table with the rest of the family wandering around them is not going to be very good. They need some privacy. Also, make sure that they have photo identification for the start of the interview. Normally we would suggest passport or driving license, but if you have issued them with a photo ID for your centre, then they should use that. Please make sure that they take the evidence with them into the interview. If the interviewer has to spend time explaining to them what they're asking the question about, then it limits the amount of stretch questions that could take your apprentices up into the merit and distinction grading. We want to give you some clear do's and don'ts for your apprentices. When they're answering questions, they need to speak clearly and concisely. The camera will be on, so they will be being watched to see if they're searching through their favourite web browser to answer those questions. Yes, of course, they can look into their summative portfolio, their Synoptic project, or indeed the employer reference to better understand what's being asked and to be able to answer it. They need to talk about what they have done. I did. I can. Here's examples I've worked on. We don't want to hear about what the team does or what the company does unless it's setting the context that will lead to how they fit within that team and what they do within it, or how they fit within the organisation and what they do to contribute to the organisation. They need to use examples in their answers. Don't be vague. Use the portfolio. They should know it. They wrote it. They should know the project. They wrote that as well. They need to think about their answers before they just give them. Nobody's expecting them to answer within a nanosecond of the question being finished. And don't make assumptions. Remember, the independent assessor doesn't know the apprentice, doesn't know the company they work for, and doesn't know the exact job role and what they do on a daily basis. They need to be told. We'd ask you to ask your apprentices to stay calm, and we do appreciate, even under normal circumstances, apprentices are going to be a bit stressed by being interviewed. But as I've stated previously, our independent assessors will look to reassure them and make them calm and get them on firm ground. And ignore what they think may be obvious to an independent assessor who comes from the digital industries. They don't know them. They don't know their job. They don't know their organisation. They will need to be told. And if they're not sure they've understood a question, then ask for it to be repeated or rephrased. Don't just assume they've understood it and rush into an answer where they may give either the wrong answer or show themselves to be confused and therefore not be seen in a good light. Provide further information, expand on their answer, tell the interviewer about other things they may have done that surround that question they're being asked. And don't be scared to lead the discussion. It's their interview after all. And please, please, please make sure that they put the context of their answers around the workplace. We don't want to hear about what they do on their computers at home or with their mates. What we would say is this: it's their interview, and we want to know one simple thing. If they've said they can do the job, if you've said they can do the job, and the employer said they can do the job by signing the Gateway Declaration form, all we want them to do in the interview is to prove it. So let's look at some frequently asked questions that David and I get. Knowledge qualifications. Can the certificates be used for the outcomes in the summative portfolio? The answer to that is no. They're a given test on a given time and a given day. They're also only a multiple choice test, so they don't show that the learner has absorbed that information and is using that to help them in the job. The assessment plans also state quite clearly that all outcomes must be covered in the summative portfolio. We're not looking for a regurgitation of curriculum or training programs they've been on with their employer. What we're looking for is for them to link the decisions and the work they do back to what they've learned from you or from within the employer. So how have they done something? Why did they know how to do that? It's because. Are there set questions that the apprentice can prepare for the interview? The answer again is no, though the one question we can tell you is more than liable to be asked is, tell us what you do or tell us about your job. Within the EPA preparation area on Smart Screen, you can find example interviews that may help you with preparing your apprentices. Should you include everything the apprentice has done? Again, the answer is no. The clue is in the word summative. We only want the best of the work that they have done and the best of the work that can cover all of those outcomes of the standard. Should you include a piece of earlier work and then a piece of improved work within the portfolio? Again, the answer is no. We're not looking for the learner journey. What we're looking for is, where are they now? What are they doing today? How are they working? What are the tasks they're carrying out and the way they go about them and the decisions that they're making and why they know how to do those things? In terms of vendor professional qualifications, the only standard that allows you to use them for all components of the knowledge on program element is the infrastructure technician. The other digital apprenticeship standards that have on program qualifications requirements will only allow one to be used as an exemption to our regulated quals. So please make sure what you are submitting at Gateway is correct. Now, you can deliver further vendor professional qualifications if you wish, but the ESFA will only pay for one for everything except infrastructure technician, where they'll pay for them all. But what they're not paying for is the registration and the exam fees. They can pay for learning materials if you can show the learning materials from the vendor professional qualifications are helping and supporting you in the delivery of the apprenticeship standard. If you run cohorts of apprentices, they don't all have to do the same project at the same time unless they're all working in the same job role in the same place. City and Guilds has provided a selection of Synoptic projects across all of its standards. The idea being to allow you, the apprentice, and even the employer to find one that is as close a match to what the apprentice does on a daily basis, so that they are at least somewhat familiar with what they're going to be faced with. We're asked, what's the marking criteria for the Synoptic projects and what's the pass mark? We do not mark the summative portfolio, the Synoptic project, or the employer reference separately. Neither do we mark the interview separately. We look at it all holistically. There is no pass mark for the Synoptic project. We take the evidence that is seen in the summative portfolio, the employer reference, the Synoptic project, build questions around that for the interview, and at the end of the interview, the grading decision is made. This question would normally come up for normal circumstances of working, and we would say yes, of course, the interview can take place at the employer's premises as long as per previously stated, they are in a good, quiet location on their own. Open office areas are not really suitable. But at this moment in time, for the Synoptic project, they can work at home. You can find the details on the COVID-19 webpage on the City and Guilds website that will tell you more about how you can run the procedure for the dispensation to do this. In terms of the interview, again, of course, they need privacy, no interruptions, good internet connection, good camera, microphone and headset, and they need their summative portfolio, Synoptic project report and employer reference to hand. They can do this interview from home, but again, in a good, nice, private location. Before we talk about the things that could see an apprentice fail, can I please say thank you to all of you for the hard work that you have put in place. City and Guilds is seeing in excess of 90% pass rates across all of its regular standards. And in some cases, we're seeing above 95%. And that is down to the work that you have done with your apprentices, the way you've worked with the employer to help and encourage them through their learner journey and prepare them for the EPA. But failures do happen. And they can happen for some of the simplest and silliest reasons going. First and foremost, not meeting all of the outcomes in the summative portfolio. Even if you've only got a weak piece of evidence to cover an outcome, make sure it goes in there to meet that requirement of covering all of the outcomes. It could be because of the employer reference. Sometimes an employer reference is a bit sketchy, or in one case we've seen one where the person that owned the business is very team oriented. And the employer reference was all about what we do as a company, what we work with as a company, who we work with as a company. And the problem with that is it told us nothing about the apprentice. It also led the apprentice to submit their summative portfolio in terms of we do this in our organisation, we work with these tools in our organisation, and these are the things we do on a regular basis. We want to know what they did. We understand they might want to put it in the context of a team, but please, it's about them. Providing evidence, including witness testimonies or anything to do with the project, the summative portfolio, etc. Please make sure that you are not writing anything on those documents. You are not indicating any sort of grading decision or how good, bad or indifferent those things are. If you do, we may reject that evidence. Please, we know you want to help them. We know you want to give them feedback about what they've done and what they're doing. And that, of course, is the right thing to do. But keep those notes separate to the evidence that you submit to us. And just a word, finally, on consistent versus consistently. If any outcome talks about consistently, then what we are looking for is that the evidence for an outcome has been done more than once. Consistently means exactly what it says, showing that every time something comes up, they are able to do it in the right way. Consistent, on the other hand, is really about what they submit and what you help them submit to us. When producing reports, etc., to submit as part of their summative portfolio, please make sure that they are writing things in a consistent manner and their report layouts are more or less the same. It just makes the flow of reading for the independent assessor a lot easier. And we do urge you to do interview preparation. It has come up time and again in the lead independent assessor's reports, and we have seen clearly how that can work. One centre told us of 12 apprentices they were putting through to EPA. They offered them all the opportunity of having a mock interview. 11 took that opportunity and went through mock interviews and were very comfortable and calm about facing the interview when it came to it, and they passed their EPA. The one person that didn't went into the interview not really understanding what they might be asked, prepared themselves for the worst situations, and ended up failing. Preparation is key. That's the time between gateway and the interview for you to use in getting your apprentices set and ready. We wish them all well. City and Guilds is keen to keep supporting its customers at this time. We understand COVID-19 is affecting everybody and disrupting normal work. Because of that, we've created a COVID-19 page, and this is updated on a very regular basis, almost daily. So please check this as often as you can. You'll find on there some help in terms of operating in the situation we're currently in, information about endpoint assessment, dispensations, etc. that we have been given, advice and support and useful links, digital resources that are available, what is happening around functional skills and essential skills, and also what is happening in terms of technical qualifications if you're running those. For the digital space, we have had notification from NSAR. They've been given dispensation by the Institute for Apprenticeships so that the Synoptic project can be undertaken at home. And the information on how to proceed with this and how to use this facility is under the EPA guidance on the COVID-19 webpage. If you require any paperwork in terms of filling out who is going to be using this system in terms of your apprentices and for which apprenticeship, and also we need them to keep a timing record if you need some template for that, then this can be provided by our EPA team. We know that not every training provider will be in a position to actively work in a remote situation. So we are providing free e-learning materials to support the management of COVID-19. We're providing free access for 3 months to our platforms and content to support distance learning where it is available on SmartScreen. For the digital space, the majority of this is the EPA preparation area where there's advice and guidance around the various EPA elements. In terms of the Unified Communications Technician, we are asking that the apprenticeship training manual be included as part of this to allow this to be used between you and the apprentices. We're providing free tools to help an apprentice work with remote assessor to prepare them for the endpoint assessment. We also have some paid materials. As part of our Get to Gateway online learning materials, these are available for digital marketer, infrastructure technician, and network engineer. If you would like more details on these, please contact your account manager or contact the customer service team, and they will have somebody contact you to give you a demonstration and take you through them. The Get to Gateway is more than just a product for getting your apprentices to the end tests before they go through Gateway. It contains a wealth of learning in there that helps with both knowledge, understanding, and provides activities for them to prove that they can use that knowledge in practice. Please get in touch and we'll look to help you. In terms of support for customer service, we're going to try and operate as normal as we possibly can. although like you now, the majority of our staff are now working from home. So please bear with us, as you can appreciate the level of calls and emails that are coming into the business have grown substantially. But our EPA customer success team, EPA support team, will and can get in touch with you if you request this via our normal customer service number or an email to the customer service team. They can sort out issues around procedures or what is happening with bookings and talk you through how to use Walled Garden, the portal, etc. as you need. We also have our regional EPA partnership managers, and they can help you through joining the City and Guilds EPA club. They can support you and your employers and track down items such as certificates, bookings, etc. that you may be struggling with and trying to find out what's happened. Please call the customer service team if you need that sort of help and ask for one of the 4 people named on this slide to get in touch. David and I want to stay in touch with you and to also keep you informed of what is happening within the digital standards portfolio. We have had to change some of the dates that we originally proposed at the end of April due to City and Guilds staff being put on furlough for some of this time. However, these dates are now confirmed. The 12th of May will be at 2:30, and it will be a chance for you to ask any questions and bring up any issues that you may be having at the time around EPA or on program. The launch of our new offer in the digital standards sector has been postponed at this time, and we will notify you when this will be happening. We've also now included another keep in touch session, any questions surgery, on the 2nd of June at 9:30. At each of these events, our intention is to provide you with updates on what is happening and next event schedules, be they face-to-face or more webinars. Please, please, please make sure you have signed up for email updates that you will find at the bottom of our main website. Our email update system is how we get things out to all of our customers around various issues, be that funding, be that exams, be that updates around what is happening in terms of COVID-19. So please make sure that you have signed up. Finally, some useful links for you. Please note that I will be out for the rest of April, and then David will be on furlough for May. So any emails you send in to us, can you make sure that you send it to both David and myself to ensure that we pick those up and address them appropriately. For additional information around apprenticeships, you can always contact apprenticeships@cityandguilds.com. But as said right at the beginning, please, please, please make sure that you are checking on a regular basis the COVID-19 webpage on our website. You will also find a lot of useful information on our apprenticeship web hub, and you'll find things on there around bookings in Walled Garden as well as endpoint assessment booking guides. And for those of you who do not know how to sign up for email updates, we've provided the URL here. David and I thank you for going through this presentation. We hope you found the information useful. Please stay safe, and we look forward to seeing you in the not too distant future.